Welcome to the Random Access Mayhem Steeltoe guide. I'll be going over the Steeltoe's toolkit and upgrades as you train to single-handedly clear rooms better than the rest of them, but also hopefully get a lot of fitness along the way. Watch as you go from this to this. While this video is primarily aimed at helping new players new to RAM, I'm sure the advice will be useful for all players. Whether you're only swapping to Steeltoe because it's the only bot that makes any sense to you, or you already know what a nail driver is, I hope you will learn something new or helpful for your runs. Lastly, keep in mind that RAM is a very difficult game, especially when starting out for the first time. Even though I'll be going over a lot of the information in the game's tutorials, it can still be helpful to try them out on your own to learn the ins and outs of each of the different bots. Now, without further ado, please enjoy. Steeltoe is a simpler host to use, capable of dealing consistent damage from range with its shotgun. The spread of the attacks combined with the slight knockback on hit means that Steeltoe can easily defeat small groups of enemies by spraying pellets in their general direction. Additionally, firing the shotgun results in a small amount of recoil on the Steeltoe, moving it away from the direction it fired. This can be used to help kite enemies or to make small movements in a pinch to avoid danger. Steeltoe also has the Resonance Hammer for its special attack. By itself, the hammer is a short-range melee attack that deals a small amount of damage, so it isn't amazing at killing enemies by itself, but the AoE blast knocks back enemies that get too close, and also can be used to deflect projectiles when timed properly. Unlike other deflection methods, projectiles deflected by the Resonance Hammer will be sent directly back to their source with higher velocity, making it a relatively consistent way to get deflection kills. The Resonance Hammer also causes the Steeltoe to lunge forward while performing the attack, but it also stops moving while attacking, so its use as a movement tool is more limited. However, Steeltoe really starts to shine when these moves are used in combination. By using the Resonance Hammer, then firing the shotgun as the melee blast is created, you can perform a nail driver. You'll know if you did this correctly because the pellets turn purple and the brief time stop on execution. Nail drivers increase the damage and speed of the pellets significantly while also tightening the spread of the bullets. As such, nail drivers are great for dealing high damage to a single target at any range, but it requires good timing and aim to use effectively. It can take a while to get the timing consistent, but it's not the end of the world if you can't get it right away. Mistiming a nail driver will instead result in a scatter shot. Scatter shots have the same damage boost as nail drivers, but they fire the pellets in a significantly wider spread. Despite seeming like a punishment, the scatter shot can actually be incredibly useful as well, especially when you want to quickly deal high damage to close enemies. The wide spread makes it difficult to use from far away, however, and is likely to result in less reliable damage to a single target than a regular shot. Both nail drivers and scatter shots result in much more recoil compared to the regular shotgun attack, making them very useful movement tools. When you need to quickly escape a dangerous spot, either boosted shot can be used to zip away. Overall, the base Steeltoe is a simple but versatile host that can deal high damage to single targets with nail drivers, and has the tools to keep enemies away with knockback or to escape danger with burst movement. It tends to struggle when surrounded by large groups of enemies that pull its focus in multiple directions, and its more limited movement tools means it can be easily overwhelmed. The majority of Steeltoe upgrades focus on improving the basic shotgun attack and nail drivers, with a handful buffing general stats and the Resonance Hammer. We'll first go through all the common upgrades, then go through the rarer ones that are a bit more involved. Ammo Conservation and Impulse Chamber are common upgrades that both improve shotgun damage, either through adding more pellets or making them deal more damage, stacking up to 4 times each. Ammo Conservation also gives the pellets a speed penalty, but Impulse Chamber's pellet speed bonus works to counteract this, so they pair well together. These are always very good upgrades to pick up, especially once you have the higher rarity upgrades as well. Recoil Compensation is a common upgrade that reduces the spread of attacks by 30%, stacking up to 3 times. This upgrade isn't too useful on its own, since nail drivers can already reduce the spread of attacks, but it can be helpful if you can't do nail drivers consistently, or if you have the Stacked Shells upgrade. Base Boost is a common upgrade which increases the size of the melee attack's hitbox, and also increases the speed and damage of deflected projectiles, stacking up to 4 times. I find this upgrade is most useful for deflecting projectiles, as the larger attack area makes timing deflections much easier. It is also one of the better upgrades that doesn't directly improve the shotgun, as it helps improve the utility of the melee attack. The last common upgrade for Steeltoe is digit grade optimization, a basic 15% movement speed increase that stacks up to 5 times. Steeltoe's base movement isn't particularly impressive, so this upgrade can help with dodging attacks. However, it's good to remember that the recoil from boosted shots and even the recoil from the basic shotgun attack can be used for a quick burst of movement, so digit grade optimization isn't super necessary over other upgrades. Moving on to the next tier of upgrades, we have Evasive Maneuvers, the first radical upgrade which grants invincibility during the recoil of nail drivers and scatter shots, as well as during the lunge of the Resonance Hammer. This upgrade greatly improves Steeltoe's survivability by turning boosted shots into a proper dodge roll, similar to the Router's Dash. I find it to be especially useful against some attacks from bosses, like the CPU's Laser Sweep, but I otherwise often pass this upgrade up as you can normally just swap out of your current host to avoid danger or dodge oncoming attacks entirely with good movement. Metronome Heartbeat is a radical upgrade which increases the timing window for a nail driver by 66%. Nail drivers are normally a 3-frame window, so this adds 1 frame to the beginning and end of the timing window. In my opinion, this upgrade is functionally worthless if you already know how to do nail drivers, although I suppose it can be useful if you aren't comfortable with the timing yet. Personally, I think it's generally better to pick up another upgrade that gives a more direct benefit, even if you aren't very good at timing nail drivers. You could argue this upgrade doesn't even do anything for 3/5 of the nail drivers you perform with it, because you would just hit the regular timing anyways, but you could also argue that 1/5 of the nail drivers you perform could technically be executed 1 frame earlier than normal, so the upgrade is not technically completely useless. Overall, I do not recommend this upgrade whatsoever except in one very specific situation, which I'll get to later. Next is Stacked Shells, a very powerful radical upgrade for Steeltoe that stacks up to 3 times. For each stack, you can reload an additional time, increasing pellet quantity, spread, and shotgun recoil by 100% for each reload. This upgrade is very strong, allowing Steeltoe to do a huge amount of damage with a single shot in exchange for taking longer to reach the full charge. It synergizes well with other upgrades, especially Ammo Conservation and Impulse Chamber, which each allow the stacked shells to fire even more high damage pellets. A nail driver's reduced spread can help to mitigate the spread increase with 1 charge, but with more charges, recoil compensation can also help a lot. Some important things to note with this upgrade: swapping into a Steeltoe causes you to fully reload the shotgun, regardless of when that Steeltoe last attacked, so this upgrade makes swapping into a Steeltoe a source of huge burst damage. Additionally, you don't need to wait for the shotgun to fully reload in order to shoot. You can still fire with only a partial reload, with the shotgun working as normal instead. Overall, Stacked Shells is a very strong upgrade. I pretty much always pick it up when I see it. The next upgrade is Resonance, a radical upgrade which, you guessed it, improves the Resonance Hammer. Specifically, it increases the melee damage by 20% and adds a 1-second stun on melee attacks for each stack. Stacking up to 2 times, this upgrade pairs well with base boost, creating large, stunning melee attacks that can deflect projectiles. In my experience, the damage buff isn't too significant, but it can help to kill softened enemies sometimes. Overall, not a bad upgrade if you want to improve the melee attack, with stun being the strongest aspect of it. Reload Curateen is a radical upgrade that stacks up to 3 times, reducing the reload time of the primary attack by 20% for each stack. Getting the upgrade also enables automatic fire, which means you can just hold down the attack button to continuously use the shotgun once it reloads. This is a very strong upgrade and is almost always useful for Steeltoe, synergizing well with most upgrades. Using the automatic fire, the Steeltoe can easily mow down groups of enemies. Alternatively, the faster reload time works well with Stacked Shells, as it allows you to charge fully reloaded shots much faster. Another advantage of Reload Curateen is to let you make use of the shotgun's recoil more often, which functionally improves Steeltoe's movement capabilities. Overall, Reload Curateen is a very strong upgrade that significantly increases Steeltoe's DPS, especially with multiple stacks, and I highly recommend picking it up when you see it. Another thing to note is, if you prefer playing with the automatic fire mode, there is an accessibility option to enable it without Reload Curateen. It could be considered a mechanical advantage as it lets you fire the shotgun immediately once it's loaded, but it doesn't make too much of a difference either way, so it's mostly a preference thing. The last radical upgrade is Ricochet Shells, which allows shotgun pellets to bounce off walls once. Not too crazy, but it does give Steeltoe access to the rebound trickshot. This upgrade isn't too groundbreaking by itself. It has the hidden prerequisite of requiring a wall to bounce bullets off of, so it doesn't do anything in larger, more open spaces. Instead, it's generally more useful in tighter, more enclosed spaces like some of the later levels, and once you already have other good upgrades like Stacked Shells, Reload Curateen, and some of the powerful breakthrough upgrades. Speaking of breakthrough upgrades, Steeltoe has 3 to choose from, starting with Blast Dynamo. This upgrade improves the efficiency of nail drivers, reducing the cooldown of the primary shotgun attack and the special melee attack on executing a nail driver. With good timing, this upgrade greatly improves the rate at which you can perform nail drivers. However, performing a scatter shot instead increases the special cooldown, forcing you to wait longer before attempting your next nail driver. This is a very difficult upgrade to use, requiring consistent timing to get the hang of, and it punishes you heavily for missing the timing. It also doesn't benefit you much if you have a swap-heavy playstyle, instead working best if you stay in a Steeltoe for an extended period of time, so it is less useful if you want to go for a large amount of fitness. Despite its many downsides, Blast Dynamo is one of the strongest upgrades for Steeltoe by itself, making it a very good early game upgrade when you don't have many upgrades yet. Ammo Conservation and Impulse Chamber are useful damage upgrades to pair with it as normal, and Reload Curating also offers good synergy as, with Blast Dynamo, the special cooldown is actually shorter than the primary cooldown after a nail driver. In my opinion, the best upgrade to pair with Blast Dynamo is Evasive Maneuvers, as the frequent nail drivers means you can spend more time invincible. It should also be noted that Metronome Heartbeat does help to hit the nail driver timing more consistently, and its best use case is probably here with Blast Dynamo. On the other hand, Stacked Shells is less useful with Blast Dynamo, as only the first reload has its reduced cooldown. Stacked Shells can still be used for when you initially swap into a Steeltoe, but if you're focusing on Blast Dynamo, you're probably swapping less often anyways. Overall, Blast Dynamo is an incredibly powerful upgrade, but is very challenging to use as it requires precise timing and punishes you for getting it wrong. If you can't do nail drivers consistently, I definitely recommend against picking up this upgrade, as it will only serve to hurt you in the long run. Next is Soldering Fingers, a breakthrough upgrade which replaces the normal shot with a single large high damage slug that fragments into smaller pellets on impact. This functionally removes the spread of the shots as the slug travels directly towards the cursor. Due to the nature of the new projectile and the knockback of attacks, the slug generally does more consistent damage than the base shotgun. Performing a nail driver with Soldering Fingers instead causes the smaller pellets to fragment into a cone shape, often causing many of them to hit the initial target for significantly more damage. Performing a scatter shot instead causes the slug to fragment automatically after a set distance, but otherwise functions similarly to nail drivers. As such, Soldering Fingers greatly increases the damage of boosted shots and makes scatter shots a consistent source of damage at short to medium range. Soldering Fingers has some interesting synergies with other upgrades. Ammo Conservation only increases the number of fragmented pellets, not the number of slugs fired, but otherwise decreases slug speed just like the pellets. Instead, Stacked Shells increases the number of slugs fired while introducing a bit of shot spread back to the main weapon when firing multiple slugs at once. Impulse Chamber also increases the speed and damage of the slug, just like it does with the pellets, making it a more useful upgrade overall compared to Ammo Conservation. Additionally, while not a direct synergy, Soldering Fingers works very well with Blast Dynamo as it lets you perform nail drivers with it more often. As I said before, Soldering Fingers functionally improves the damage of nail drivers, particularly against a single target. Lastly, it should be noted that recoil compensation does nothing for Soldering Fingers unless also paired with Stacked Shells, and Ricochet Shells doesn't cause the slug to bounce off of walls, only the fragmented pellets. The last upgrade for Steeltoe is Induction Barrel, a breakthrough upgrade which replaces pellets with flame projectiles. On its own, the new flame pellets pierce targets, allowing multiple enemies to be hit with a single pellet. However, the pellets have a hidden 10% damage penalty, making this upgrade worse for damage against a single target, not even enough to one-shot a router if all pellets connect. Additionally, the pellets do thermal damage, so aphids do not take direct damage from the flame projectiles, instead gaining heat proportional to the amount of damage that would have been dealt. This allows Steeltoes to get overheat trick shots against aphids and light tar on fire, but this might be more of a detriment, as aphids will slowly cool down over time. As such, Induction Barrel is quite weak on its own, dealing less damage to all enemies, and making aphids much harder to fight in exchange for the ability to damage multiple enemies at once. With other upgrades, however, Induction Barrel begins to be much more powerful. Soldering Fingers and Induction Barrel pair very well together, and they are one of the strongest upgrade combos available to Steeltoe, maybe even one of the strongest upgrade combos across all the bot types. While the damage penalty still applies, the fragmenting shots mean the pierce effect can be used to deal with large groups of enemies. Combined with other upgrades, like Ammo Conservation and Impulse Chamber, as well as upgrades that increase your slug output, like Reload Curating and Stacked Shells, the Steeltoe's basic shotgun can deal massive amounts of AoE damage, and boosted shots can be used to dispatch single targets. Combined with ricochet shells, especially in stages with enclosed spaces like Staff Room, or many of the stages in the later half of the game, clearing rooms becomes extremely easy as you can effortlessly pump out huge amounts of pellets that bounce around the room. As such, Induction Barrel is a mediocre upgrade by itself, but synergizes extremely well with other upgrades, especially Soldering Fingers. As a host mostly orientated for single target damage, Steeltoe is great for getting some basic trick shots. The basic shotgun deals just enough damage to one-shot routers, which makes for an easy way to get a quick draw. Getting quick draws on other bots is a bit more difficult, however. Generally, you'll need to either soften the enemy up a bit first, or have upgrades that improve your damage. Stacked Shells upgrade is especially useful for getting quick draws, as swapping into a Steeltoe fully reloads the chamber. Nail drivers and scattershots also help with getting quick draws. The increased damage helps break many necessary health thresholds to one-shot various hosts. The melee attack can also be used to perform trick shots. Killing an enemy with the Resonance Hammer rewards a hammered trick shot for 1.5 times fitness. It's not a huge bonus, but it can be good to finish off weakened enemies with the melee attack for the small extra fitness. Additionally, using the melee attack immediately after swap can result in a hammered plus quick draw, multiplying the bonuses together for triple the normal fitness. Alternatively, the melee attack can be used to deflect projectiles to get the deflected or hot potato trick shots. Steeltoe's melee deflect is unique in that it always sends the projectile directly back to its source and increases the velocity of the projectile, making it much more consistent at deflecting attacks than other methods, although enemies can sometimes still move out of the way before the projectiles return to them. The base boost upgrade can help with this by both increasing the radius of the melee attack and improving the deflected projectiles. I find Steeltoe and Router projectiles to be the easiest to deflect, but any projectile that travels through the air can technically work. Additionally, while Steeltoe does not have the strongest knockback potential, the shotgun and Resonance Hammer can both be used to knock enemies into various hazards for accidental kills. The brief time pause caused by performing a nail driver can be used to perform a standard trick shot. If you are confident in your nail driver timing, this can be a very easy way to get consistent trick shots. Just make sure you don't move your cursor until after you press the swap button, otherwise you may screw up your aim and miss. Alternatively, ammo conservation can help to get standard trick shots with regular attacks, as the slower bullets give more time to swap before the enemy is killed. There are a few additional trick shots that are available while using certain upgrades. Ricochet shells can award the rebound trick shot when an enemy is killed by bullets that have been bounced off of a wall. It can be a little difficult to hit rebounds consistently, however, so you will probably just be getting this by accident when paired with Soldering Fingers. Induction Barrel causes the Steeltoe's bullets to deal thermal damage, allowing them to overheat aphids. However, as explained before, this can be rather difficult on its own, but paired with Soldering Fingers, it becomes very easy. The piercing bullets may also damage nearby enemies in the process, lining them up for a collateral kill when the aphid explodes. As such, prioritizing aphids that are nearby other enemies can result in large amounts of extra fitness. Lastly, overheating an aphid is an easy way to get a standard trick shot. Simply deal enough thermal damage to the aphid to overheat them, then swap out of your current hosts. This awards an easy overheated plus trick shot combo for 4.5 times the normal amount of fitness. It can also be paired with collateral kills for additional proxy trick shots as well. Now I'll show off a bit of Steeltoe gameplay in level 1 while going through my thought process, and I'll explain what I'm trying to do so you can get a feel for Steeltoe in action in this demonstration. Starting off in transmission, swapping into Steeltoe lines you up perfectly to get a quick draw against the router, and the aphid and deadlift can be dealt with just by peppering them with bullets and strafing around them. And lucky me, I got Reload Curatein right away, one of the best starting upgrades for Steeltoe in my opinion. Here in Switchback, Reload Curatein really shines, since this floor has a lot of straight lines. You always know where the enemies will be coming from, so you can just keep firing in their general direction. I tried to get a kill with the explosive barrel. Steeltoe's very good at shooting them from far away, unfortunately it didn't really work out for me. And you'll see, even though I'm trying to show off how to play Steeltoe, I'll be swapping into other bots occasionally. Sometimes I don't have a choice, no matter here I just wanted a bit more fitness. And you'll see here, Deadlift's probably a little better at getting kills with explosive barrels with the grapple compared to Steeltoe. I make use of the melee hitbox there to deflect that Steeltoe's bullets. Sometimes you have to move the hitbox in a bit of an unorthodox way in order to get the deflection, but it's often worth it to go for the extra fitness. Try to go for a kill with the explosive barrel again, but I fail and instead get 2 hot potato trick shots, and Also, another very good upgrade, Soldering Fingers. That'll make my damage much more consistent and you'll probably see me doing more nail drivers now. And that's one thing you need to be careful about with Steeltoe. Your bullets can also be deflected. It makes fighting routers a little inconvenient if the grenade throws are out of sync, like they were before. That's why hot potato trick shots are generally a little better against routers. Now here I go for a technique called tar sliding, where if you do a boosted shot out of an aphid's tar, you can maintain your momentum for much longer to travel very quickly. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me very well there. That's just another good situation to swap, get away from a group of enemies, then flame them down with aphid. You'll notice here I'm re-rolling some upgrades. That's the only hyperparameter I'm using for this run, just so I can try to get more Steeltoe upgrades, although I don't want to spend all of my fitness on one upgrade, so I just take a router upgrade of those. That router running at me with low health, that's another situation where going for the melee attack can be quite useful. With the larger hitbox, you can it's a little easier to get a kill. That was actually a nice accidental deflection there. I think the Steeltoe fired its shotgun right when I punched, so all the bullets immediately hit the Steeltoe. And now, of course, I get unlucky and level 2 enemies keep spawning over where the Steeltoes would spawn. And this room winds up being a bit more of a showcase of how good Tachi can be, more than Steeltoe. And I'll make tutorials for the other bots as well. Here I tried to go for a quick draw nail driver. Fortunately, I completely missed. I'll admit my aim wasn't very good in this demonstration for some of the nail drivers. And here, in this encounter, I probably should have swapped out, but I actually get rewarded pretty nicely with a lot of collateral kills, since I was able to pick off that aphid. And ammo conservation, not super important with Soldering Fingers, but it still is useful. It helps with a little bit of extra damage. This room has a lot of Steeltoes. Unfortunately, I once again wasted my nail driver hitting a box that time. Only thing I could hit that wasn't a Steeltoe. Here you can see me going for deflections with deadlift. I wanted to do this just to compare to Steeltoe's deflection. While you can punch with deadlift more often, the random spray of the bullets makes it much harder to actually deal any reliable damage with them. I'm able to get a hammered quick draw there instead. Very good to do against a weakened enemy standing near a Steeltoe. Go for another hammered trick shot there, but probably could have been paying better attention to the uncommon bullets. And you'll see one of the limitations of Steeltoe's deflection there. Sometimes enemies just move out of the way before the bullets return to them, which can be a little annoying. And stacked shells, another very good upgrade. Impulse chamber is good too, of course, but I'd rather have stacked shells, especially because I already have reload carotene. I make more use of the fully charged shots. Moving to the shop, unfortunately, I just barely do not have enough fitness to afford Blast Dynamo. A bit of a shame, I wanted to show that off. Normally I would have a bit more fitness coming into the first shop, but I spent some on rerolls and had repeat variety for a while. I actually got recoil compensation for the random common upgrades, so that reminded me just to show off. That actually does affect Soldering Fingers, but only if you have stacked shells and are firing multiple slugs at once. Now moving on to the back half of level 1, my build is really starting to become quite powerful. I went for another trick shot there. Unfortunately my timing was off, I got a scatter shot instead of a nail driver. If I had the time stop, probably would have let me get a trick shot. And there is Induction Barrel. Very good upgrade with Soldering Fingers, especially with all the other upgrades I have. Here, it's a good situation just to swap over, deal with the Fitness Jammers first. Now with Stack Shells and Induction Barrel and Soldering Fingers, that combo can do a lot of work with clearing out the rest of the wave. Here, I was trying to shoot through that wall. I didn't realize that was actually a wall. I thought you could just shoot right through it. Unfortunately, there's a Steeltoe right next to that Fitness Jammer, so it's very easy to get a quick draw against it. And this room's also very good for hitting enemies into the lightning poles, or whatever they're called. Deadlift's obviously a little better for it, but Steeltoe has a lot of knockback as well, with the melee attack or even just the basic attack. This is another stage pretty similar to Switchback, where you can kind of just stay back and pepper enemies from a distance, so playing it mostly safe from here. Only really going for trick shots against weakened enemies. And Ricochet Shells, another good upgrade to pair with this build. We don't really get to see in action in this combination of upgrades. It's very good in tight spaces like Staff Room, lots of later stages as well. Once again, I go for another trick shot, unfortunately completely whiff again. I really just might be a bit of a fraud at this point. Now here, I go for one of those overheated trick shots, like I described before, and I just wanted to see how much exactly I got. I got a 1.4 multiplier as well, and a rebound as well, so that's 6.75 times multiplier before the variety bonus for a total of 471 fitness, which is quite a lot for one kill against a regular aphid. No Steeltoe upgrades again, which is to be expected, as Ram does weigh the upgrades towards bots you have less upgrades with, which is a little inconvenient in this specific scenario where I'm just trying to show off Steeltoe. And here you can see fighting Tachi as Steeltoe is honestly quite annoying, so I just have to swap into it. Very strange interaction there. I meant to swap into the Steeltoe, but I accidentally swapped into the router just as it died. Now, Cargo Dock by Below. Great start for getting a half self-preservation override. And these silver deadlifts, they have a Yorikiri upgrade, which makes them immune to knockback, which makes them honestly very scary against Steeltoe, which relies a lot on being able to knock back enemies. There's a lot of aphids in this room, so I could go for lots of overheats and collaterals. Fortunately, I take a lot of damage inside. Probably best to just swap. There's Blast Dynamo, finally. I can actually take it this time. Unfortunately, I don't see any more Steeltoe until I reach the boss room, so I'll just skip ahead to the next upgrades. Stack Shells, nice extra damage boost going into the CPU fight. Always make sure to get that secret upgrade in Cargo Dock, although I don't get a Steeltoe upgrade. This shot has both resonance and evasive maneuvers. Boss can't be stunned though, so resonance isn't particularly useful, but evasive maneuvers absolutely is. And again, unfortunately, I got kind of unlucky with CPU not summoning any Steeltoes for quite a while, so we can use this to compare the damage output of a router with, just a few upgrades with a heavily upgraded Steeltoe, because I will eventually get back into a Steeltoe. Yep, they appear right there. And swap there, boom! That's the real potential of stacked shells with soldering fingers. And there, I was actually accidental. I meant to do a nail driver, completely mistimed it because of Blast Dynamo, because I forgot I had it. Fortunately, evasive maneuvers bailed me out, and I was able to dodge the hammer attack with my own hammer attack. This attack, just be patient, wait for the CPU to start flashing red, and then I can swap into it. It's just got a sliver of health left, going in for the melee kill, and that's it. Probably could have gone for a quick draw instead, but oh well. And with that, you've reached the end of the guide. You are now a certified Steeltoe rammer. As always, I would appreciate any feedback in the comments, and let me know if you would be interested in seeing more guide content from me in the future. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.